Uh, so, you get so you watch yourself. So when that happened, you look to see if anybody's got a beef against you. And I didn't have anybody get against anybody, so I didn't go looking for anybody. So they fired 2 or 3 shots in the air, and that stopped it, and we all went back to ourselves. And then another time, a guy got stabbed down in the yard, and his name was Dog Man, and he was a known informer. And a guy named Simcoe come out in the yard and had a list of 5 guys he thought needed taken care of, and the dog was the first one he saw, so he went after him with a sieve, stabbed him 7 or 8 times, dropped the sieve, and they took him up to D block. So the dog looked like he was dead. I was right there playing handball. And they drug him up the steps by the heels, and his head hitting every step. Oh. And took him up to the hospital, and about an hour later, he was covered up, and he said, "Who put a sheet over my face?" So they took him over to San Francisco, and a couple of months later, he was back in the yard. So you see, that was 5 years. So, and there was a couple of escape attempts while I was here. One in 1956, 2 guys overpowered a guard. They were working out around the island. Went in the water, and one of them was picked up on a rock out here called Little Alcatraz. The other guy made it to shore, and they found his body 2 weeks later. So then the other incident was one guy, and he didn't make it. He got to shore, and then they found him over on shore. So that was the whole excitement in 5 years. Okay.
Gentleman over here, yes, sir.
Yeah, Robert, do you have a view on the 3 guys that were never accounted for in the movies, whether they made it or not?
I know something about the water out here, and I knew something about it when I was in the Navy before I come here. And the tides going through here, there's a Sacramento River empties in this bay, and it drains all of the Sierra Nevada from Mammoth north to Shasta, which is about 200 miles of mountain range. And all the rivers come down, come right into this bay. So during any time of the year, you got a real current coming through here. And if it's an outgoing tide, it runs 12, 15 miles. At that speed, how long does it take to go 3 miles out there out of that gate? If it's coming in, and where are you going to swim? You go the other way, you got 5 miles ashore. And the water's 55 degrees, 30 minutes, and you're done. So I don't think anybody ever stayed away. Especially 3 guys, and one of them, he knows going to get caught somewhere. So I don't think anybody made it.
Yes, sir.
How much money did you accumulate working in the laundry over that time?
We got 10 cents an hour, and so when I left here, I had $273. So, I was rich.
Yes, sir.
Have you watched any of Hollywood's adaptations of movies about The Rock, and what's your opinion of them?
I've probably seen maybe all of them, and most of them are just like I said before, they were just movies. And there was very little real about them, escape from Alcatraz and all that. The only one that was real probably was the one Clint Eastwood made. And it told the story of that escape, but not actually the story of the prison itself, or what the prisoners did, or what we did, or how we acted, or whatever. And probably the only guy that ever escaped from here is named Clint, and he's playing golf down at Pebble Beach.
Was it difficult for you to come back here and stand in the same room?
I was really nervous when I come back last August after 50 years, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought I'd just come in, sign the book, if they had a visitor book with my number, because I'm kind of a smart aleck. And when my wife wanted to see this for 37 years, and I talked very little about it, and I was a little, interested to see what it looked like and see how I felt. And I was really kind of apprehensive, not scared, I've never been scared, just kind of apprehensive about the way I'd be treated. But as soon as John Cantwell here and the other Rangers, it was like old home. Just everybody was really friendly. And all the tourists have all treated me great. And I haven't had anybody say, well, write a book and make some money, which I did. I haven't made any money, and the book isn't published yet, but I am writing a book.
Yes.
How did you tell your wife that you were how did you tell her that you were in Alcatraz, and how did you respond to that?
Our first date was July 4th, 1973, and I took her deep sea fishing off Hunting Beach Pier on an evening boat. And about 7:30, we were about a mile offshore. We quit fishing, and the whole shore lit up. So it was quite a 4th of July. So our second, I saw the way she acted out there in the boat, fishing and really enjoying it. I said, oh, this is a girl for me. More stuff. So our second date, well, I told her about me. And I didn't pull any punches. I just told her, my life, the Navy and before and after. And so she just kind of clouded up and took it really good. And 6 weeks later, we're married. So I guess she took it pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Robert, I'm pretty much on the other side of where you are, okay? And I've seen all the victims that people like you have left, okay? Do you have remorse for any of those people? Things that you've done and you've to other people?
Well, of course, that was part of my awakening, that I took blame for everything I'd done. And of course, I'm sorry if I hurt anybody doing that.
Well, obviously you were here, so you had to hurt someone.
Oh, sure, but if I hurt somebody physically, I was sorry for it. And of course, mentally, if you hurt somebody mentally, scare them bad enough, that's even a worse hurt than the physical, because the physical you can get away with.
Well, when you're here, it seems like when people are here, they always have remorse for what they did. I'm talking about now that your life's straight, you up and going with your life, you've reformed. Do you really feel sorry for those people that you hurt before?
Well, I got kind of something that you have to feel sorry. I mean, of course I feel sorry for people if I hurt them. In fact, in my book, I got a section there that I apologized to my first wife's family and anybody that I hurt after I got out. Not physically, I never did that. But when I come out of here, I was a con, hard. I was a hard con. And I had a hair trigger temper. And I still have that temper, but I have it pretty well under control. But I mean, you can't dwell on that and be sorry for it. You got to get around it. You got to get away. You get past it. I mean, otherwise you're a jabbering, bibbering idiot.
Well, there's a lot of people that, like I said, I'm on the other side. I've seen a lot of victims, okay? And, they have a life too, and, you affected it quite a bit.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at the real world, then it's reality.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen to people.
Okay.
So they got to get by it, and I have to get by that. So, I mean, I don't really know where you're coming from if you think you have to be sorry and dwell on that the whole rest of your life and get down on your knees and beg somebody for forgiveness. So I don't agree with that. I think you admit you did something wrong, pay your dues, and then you go on about your life. You think that's a good idea?
I think what you did is good, because I've seen a lot of people that go right back to where they were, And
The point is the man did do his time, and he is here as a free citizen to talk with the visitors, here to relay his story. So he has said he's sorry.
Yeah, if I did anything to do penance, is what you're asking and what you're talking about.
I think this was your penance.
Yeah, but anything else that I could do with penance, what I would do, and I may do, is go to some juvenile facility and explain to those people in there why I come here. And my whole explanation of that is they have a choice. If you make a choice and make one step wrong and don't pull it back, it's too late. Because the next step's easier. Pretty soon you convince yourself that what you're doing is right. So that's human nature. So that's what I would tell all the young kids, that that's what you have to do. Don't take that step. And know it's wrong. Go back. Go in another direction.
And let me just add that I've met probably over 20 former convicts from Alcatraz, and they've all said that they deserve to be here, and that they did do their time. And a lot of these folks that were invited back are people that have done Scared Straight programs for people at youth at risk, gone to prisons and so on. So, again, as I said, living history to have somebody out to talk with. And it takes some guts, I think, to be able to stand in front of a couple hundred people and tell your story. Say you're sorry. Yes?
Good morning. Sir, how did you feel when you first stepped on the island?
The first day? Well, and like I said in my book, when we come up that hill in that little bus, it was quiet in that bus. Everybody was in their own thoughts. And of course, you had a new prisoner in Alcatraz, and we all heard about it. So a little trepidation, and you just wonder what's going to happen to you. How's it going to be? You know, I mean, what's going to happen to me? So just naturally, I mean, you got to think that. I mean, you can't just, you know, just slough it off. But I've always actually been kind of a joker. So I probably treated this and all the prisons I was in as almost like a joke. Even though I knew it was real, it was a reality. About as real as you.
Yes, miss.
Why were you put in cell D and what was the experience like?
Why did you end up in solitary?
Oh, well, I explained that, but I broke my cell up and set fire to everything, and then they put me over in solitary for, I was 29 days in a strip cell. Above that.
Question over here. Did you have a question? Yeah.
In the yard, conversations daily with, when you talk to, you said you were a loner, but talking with other convicts, what was the conversation during handball or just walking around the yard during your time together?
Well, I don't remember any conversations. Sometimes you had a conversation with somebody, it was maybe like a book you read or something you'd done when you were outside, or just normal conversation men have. We didn't converse about the shape of the world because we had no news there. They put radios in 1954, and there was 2 channels, mostly music, absolutely no news. And we listened to the USF basketball team. In fact, the year I was here in '57, I think it was, USF won the NCAA basketball tournament. And Bill Russell, you ever hear him? Yeah, he was the center. So one day in '57, after that happened, the door of the laundry opened and the warden came in with Bill Russell. How I knew who he was, I don't know. Maybe somebody said, or maybe the warden said, or somebody said, but it was really something, this guy. That tall, you know.
I think we got time for a couple more questions. Yes, sir.
Way when you were going to leave the facility to help assimilate back into civilian life, or were you left on your own?
No, not here. When I left here, just like I said, they took me out of my cell down and clothed and went over and put me on an airplane, and I was gone. Now, when I got out of San Quentin, you had to have a job before you could leave there in parole. Of course, that was back in the '50s. Now I don't know what they do, but most prisons have some kind of a way that they get people getting ready to go outside. Now, there's a guy here, Quillen, was it Quillen? He's dead now. And after he was released, he'd go around and talk to all the schools and the kids in correctional facilities. Also, he'd go to Folsom State Prison probably once a month and talk to the guys who were getting ready to go out and tell them what they could expect and, what happened to them and how they get around doing this and don't do that, and, so they could make it out there. But when most people, when they left here, they went back to another prison, either a federal prison or to another state prison. But if you're released from here like I did, you're just out and on the airplane and go to Los Angeles. That was kind of harrowing,
Thank you.
Way in the back there, yes.
Did you ever think about, when you were here, did you ever think about seriously trying to escape?
Did you ever think about trying to escape?
Well, I tried to escape from Leavenworth and didn't work, and I got out here. And of course, I guess you think about it, you wonder if it's possible, but the guy I tried with Leavenworth, we never talked about it. I think we both realized it was kind of a, something you didn't want to try out here. But you'd get somebody with a long sentence, life, or 25 years, or 20, or whatever. I mean, what else are you going to think about? I mean, so you think about that all the time, probably.
Last question in the back.
Your escape at Leavenworth, what was that like? Like, did you get anywhere, or was it just straight away you got captured?
In Leavenworth.
The escape.
Where did you?
How far did you get?
How far did you get?
Oh, we were up in the window abraser, which is a big window, up high, 10 feet off the floor, took one on top of the other guy, boosted. And so they were about 12 feet wide, and the depth was about 3 feet, and then the bars. And we were up in the window with a bar spreader made out of a pipe with a solid bar with screw threads in the middle and a nut, and you just turn the nut and they spread the bars. So we were up there and we thought we had 15 minutes and we were going to go out, and then we had our blankets to go over the barbed wire fence outside, and the guard tower on that corner of the building at 4 o'clock was deserted, so we knew that. And so we were about halfway through spreading the bars, and a guard come around the cell house and saw us, and it was during dinner at night, and raised the alarm. So that night we were in segregation, in the hole there, both of us not together in separate cells. And the next night, 2 guys grabbed 2 guards, tied one up to a post, took the other one up to a cell and tied him up. The first guard got loose and got the alarm, and so they grabbed them. And they called me in from segregation, from the hole, and said that one of these guys said I was involved in that. I was already in segregation. Anyway, they pushed me. So that's how far we got. We got up in the window. But I still think it was a good plan.
On that note, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Robert, Luke will be out at the desk after this if you want to stop by and say hi, ask some more questions, or you'll stick around here, I guess, for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to go right over in front of the kitchen, and if anybody wants to get a picture or whatever, I'll be able to do that. And thanks for listening. I enjoyed it.